Afternoon. We are back for a Monday afternoon live. It's been quite an effort to get on this afternoon, actually. I'm just going to see if Erin is on and get her on live too. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. I'm also going to spray some of Erin's, while I'm here, because I haven't had 2 seconds, clearing mist, because I can use all that I can get today, I think. There we go. I'm just spraying the mist.
Yeah.
Hello.
Do it. Mist it out.
Oh my God, we haven't done a live for nearly a month because we had the retreat and then it was school holidays and it's been a lot, but we're back.
We're
back. Even though I just randomly told everyone at the last minute, but hey, you're still on. I'm glad there's still some people that managed to get on at our last minute notice. What a wild ride it is. That's mostly what we're going to talk about today. This wild ride of life at the moment.
Can you hear me okay?
I can indeed. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good. So we're doing a live. Thanks, Hayley. We're excited too. I miss these lives, actually. I miss having a little chit chat. Just literally just a chat about whatever it is that we would be talking about anyway. But it is Mercury retrograde and hopefully our technology doesn't get stuffed up, and the day has already been quite the whirlwind. So hopefully it all goes smoothly. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Be exactly as it to be. And we're right in the middle of the Samhain portal. We are in the Southern Hemisphere anyway. The traditional date was yesterday, or kind of today, because in the Northern Hemisphere it's the 31st of October. And here it is sort of somewhere between the 30th of April and the 1st of May. But the official date is on the 6th, which is also the full moon. So when is the celebration of ancestors and honouring our lineage, honouring our ancestors, honouring the people that have passed. And it's when the veil is very, very thin and we can connect more easily and they can connect with us more easily. So we're in this kind of portal because we're in between the traditional date and the official astrological date. It doesn't happen till Saturday. Plus we've got eclipse.
It's the third harvest festival, right? The third and final harvest festival.
Yes. Before we go into complete dormancy and rebirth at Yule time, which is June or July? June.
21st of June.
21st of June. That's right. So we're harvesting, and I think they call it the witch's new year as well. It sort of begins because it's sort of where the spiral sort of goes all the way inwards, and then at Yule we kind of come outwards again. So we're entering the depths of the darker part of the year, but also Mercury retrograde and the eclipse portal. So a lot of people are feeling a bit messy.
Yeah.
How
definitely. Yeah, I'm in it, which is great. Welcome that shit with open arms. Lots of things from the past coming up to be revisited again, and patterns illuminating themselves. I feel like for me personally, it's there's a few that are giving their final death cry, no, and they're about to die, and that hurts, and it's messy and it's murky. I feel like I'm a bit in the washing machine and in the swamp, and that's okay because I know my way out. Been here many, many times before. So yeah, and like being in the Sowen portal, there is a lot of ancestral stuff, like matrilineal red thread stuff that's coming up for me at the moment, which is good. And we're going to dive into this at our closed circle on this Friday night, which will be good to do. But what did we want to talk about today? So we thought we would talk about intuition, because we have a lot of people ask us all the time, like, how can I increase my intuition? How can I tap into my intuition? How can I enhance it? How can I get more connected with it, I guess? And it's really such a multifaceted thing. And I guess we should start as well by prefacing this with, like, so intuition isn't like mediumship. So like if you tap into your intuition, it doesn't mean you're going to start talking to dead people and, you know, receive messages from the other side and all that. Often the two do go hand in hand, but they are kind of mutually exclusive. And also, like, everybody, every single human who is living a human experience has the ability to tap into and further enhance their intuition. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, which, you know, who knows where it's going to go. We'll see.
Really?
And that's half of the excitement.
Decided on this topic mostly because we had so many people asking, like, what can help me? And because we've also been down that path where we kind of thought we were quite connected with our intuition, and then it's just the more we've gone there, the more we've intentionally connected and expanded our capacity to receive, the deeper we've gone and the more we've been able to open. And it's like, it's a never-ending journey. Like, we're not there where there's no like destination. We're not like all of a sudden we've reached our intuitive like cap. We're still on that path as well, but we can talk about where we've been and kind of got to this point, and the fact that every single person, like you said, can access their own intuition, their intuitive ability, and then that becomes this like seed that grows and grows, that you nurture and that you connect with, and that it also takes you on its own, like to whatever it is that you in terms of what you're here to do. Like, everyone's gifts and intuitive abilities are different and look different, but there's some core things that we can all do to connect more and grow that. And I suppose it's not even grow, it's like nurturing it, really. It's just nurturing it, connecting back with it. And essentially all of the work that we do is for people to come back to that, because at the end of the day, our intuition is our truth. It's like the core of our truth. And something that we're always saying really is that the truth isn't always what we think it's going to be, or what we want it to be, or how we think it's going to happen. But the truth is the truth, and there's no getting around it. So our intuition and our intuitive gifts may not be what you think they are, but as you nurture that path, it grows and you connect more with it, and you kind of see where it takes you.
Yeah, totally, exactly. And so I guess, like, if we just start by saying, so intuition is just that knowing. And I guess we can look at it like gnosis, like GNOSIS. It's like spiritual or energetic knowledge that you can't kind of cognitively or logically often back it up with. It's just like, it's that gut feeling. And again, it's different from our instincts. So I guess, you know, we've got our logic, and then we've got our instincts, which are our evolutionary mammalian
like
reactions.
Yeah.
Our primal reactions, which you know, instinctively we're like, I'm in danger, or a danger has presented itself, I've got to, you know, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all that sort of jazz. But our intuition is separate from that again. So our intuition is like, it's that gut feeling, it's that body feeling, it's that usually it's when you've worked that intuitive muscle, so to speak, even though, you know, it's not really a muscle, we can refer to it like that. Yeah. When you've really deeply connected with that, and when you are in tune with it, our intuition is more often than not that first ping that we get. And it's those, like, we've all had it where we've met someone, and we've just, like, for no apparent or logical reason, where we just get that feeling where we're like, oh, this is just off, like something about this relationship or something about this person, it's just not right. And sometimes we listen to it, and sometimes we don't, or sometimes we, like, the biggest block to our intuition and expanding it is gaslighting ourselves, right? And of course, like, gaslighting is a pattern that we're deeply indoctrinated into from all of the systems and structures that govern us. They're constantly gaslighting us and telling us, you know, that we're wrong, and that what we're feeling is wrong, and that, you know, often, like, just that literally our lived experience is wrong. We've often grown up in family systems who have passed on that pattern. And so then we start doing it to ourselves. And I mean, like, honestly, I know personally, I've spent most of my life gaslighting myself in regards to my intuitive abilities. And, you know, what, like, especially men have phenomenal intuitive abilities as well, but especially as women, who, like, physiological women who grow and nurture life, and who experience a menstrual cycle that thins the veils between receiving messages from the other realms every month. Our intuition, like, we're right.
Yeah.
You know, like,
how many times do we have to be, like, proved that we're right? We still don't believe it. But I also think that it's not just us gaslighting ourselves, but we've been primed to be gaslit by everyone. Like, don't believe that, or, you know, especially the medical institution, and especially around our cycles and gestation and pregnancy and birth and all of that. The gaslighting, I mean, it works really, really well. So we're going to be just programmed to be gaslighting, and we really are just, we're spirit in physical form, like, all just spirit in physical form. So it's sort of just about connecting that spirit back to that spirit part of us, and discerning the spirit in this, like, dense human form, you know. And there's this, like, density here around our bodies and our primal instincts and our logic and human nature, you know, all the gaslighting of human nature, and then connecting back to that primal, that spirit within.
Yes, yeah. Haley's just said that our brain and society, the society that we function in, we really like and feel comfortable with tangible concepts that we can dissect and create this whole series of data around, and back up with studies. And, like, that's not intuition. Like, that is the opposite of intuition. So intuition is like a feminine energetic,
right? And
then the logical, kind of more instinctual stuff is like the masculine energetic. So of course, lots of us have grown up disconnected from our intuition, because when we outsource our power and we hand everything over. And Catherine and I, like, we talk about this all the time, right? Like it all comes
probably
back to like coming home to yourself and to reconnecting. I loved what you said about that, you know, we're spirit in a dense human body, because a lot of, so we can receive intuitive pings in many different forms, but for me personally, one of the main ways is like I have like a physical reaction. So whether it's like you know, and I used to actually just not even be conscious of these things that were happening in my body until I slowed the F down and worked really consciously on getting back into my body. And I see it with so many people who are on my table. Like, one of the first things I have to do in so many sessions is actually just bring people back into their body, because we, you know, being a human is a wild, crazy adventure, and it's a lot often. And so it's kind of easier for us to just kind of like dissociate and sit out here. But one of the main keys to fine tuning your intuition is like getting right the fuck back down and right the fuck back into your body. And so that for me personally looks like a feeling in my gut, or it will be like a twinge in some part of my body, or it will be like goosebumps, or it will just be, it's really hard to explain, like that off feeling. And it's like we can't put words to a lot of this stuff because there are no words. It's like feelings, but we can't even put words to the feelings because we don't have them, because the English language is super masculine.
Yeah.
So it's that,
there's no real words always to explain it. And that's why the studies are really interesting, because all the studies and the science that you were talking about really are just coming after to prove stuff that people have felt and thought. It's like science proves that magic exists, but we all know that magic does exist. We all know that already exists. It's just that people need this study or the science to show, to be able to make it tangible for our human minds to extrapolate and make sense of in a human way. But actually, it's about coming back to that knowing and that sense, and actually coming back to our senses. And when you were saying about coming back into our bodies, something I was going to say about that, which has slightly just left my brain, but I think the point is that that's what I was going to say. So the one way to like not connect with your intuition is go faster. Like, it's almost like we need to actually talk about it the other way around. Like, the faster you go and the more you don't slow down to listen, the more that you realize, the more you don't connect with your intuition, and you connect really more deep just with what's logical and what sort of can be proven and what makes, which is fine until it's not. And for most people, that's where it becomes this spiritual, what we talk about, spiritual awakening, because it just no longer, it's just not enough. Like, it just can't ever fully be enough. And if for people that are really happy and content in that, then that's awesome. But you ask a lot of people and it's not, because there's this spirit part of us always looking for, but I know that there's more. I know something else, and I just can't explain it, or I just don't have words. So how do we connect back? Well, we go slower, and people expect that connecting with your intuition is so beautiful and like pleasurable and joyous and blissful, when actually it's the complete opposite. Like, when you're coming back into going slowly and connecting with your body and being able to feel fully, and you want to be able to feel all of the nuances, because that's how we can discern between our humanness and our spirit, you know, within us. And they're not separate, they're interconnected. Like, they're really symbiotic. Like, you get them as a as a physiological response. So it's all very connected, but that's the only way I can explain it. It feels really uncomfortable because we've left our bodies for a reason, because it didn't feel safe. We've left because it didn't feel good or okay, or we've been told that it's not, that we need to fertilize, and that we don't know what we're talking about, and we don't know what we're feeling. What we're feeling is not real. And so to come back in and to actually trust that, it usually, the truth of what it's trying to tell us is usually so fucking uncomfortable and so against everything we've been working for, everything we've been told that's true, or everything that we've been told exists. Like me, my biggest knowing, and I remember telling you this after I had son, my oldest. I was sitting, I had gone to see a healer, and I had spent 9 years at uni. I tell the story a lot. I spent 9 years at uni. I was like building this career, and I just had a baby, and I was miserable. And I was like, I just can hear this drum. Like, I can hear this drumming. I can, like, there's like two of me. There's like this part of me that's like, and this is long before I had anything to do with drums. But I told this healer, I was like, I just feel like there's this part of me that's like somewhere else drumming, but it makes no sense. It's completely against everything I've built my whole life to. It's against everything I've ever been told. And yet that was my intuition, and that was the path I had to go on. And look at me, and then I found a drum, and like drumming has been this massive part of my life. But it's not comfortable, it's not pretty, it's not it's hard, which is why people kind of avoid it. And then you can't avoid it because it just keeps coming on, right?
Well, that's right. Like you get like if you ignore the whispers of your intuition for long enough, generally you get the Mack truck. So you want to slow down and get quiet enough to and like be attuned to those subtle messages before the fucking Mack truck comes. And you talked about like people like kind of continuing on and carrying on in a life that perhaps isn't true for them, and how that's fine, like, and that's their choice, and that is totally fine, and that is people's choices, and awesome. But that just reminded me of a study that I read, and it's funny because I'm like, a study, but about like what the biggest regrets were of people who were in old people's homes. And the main regret was like the main regret that they had was not living a life that was true to them, right? And so it's just not worth continually like staying numb to and pushing down and ignoring and brushing under the rug our intuitive pings. Like, it's a muscle that we do want to really tap into and strengthen, because as much as it comes with equal parts like hard and challenging and pain, because as we get deeper into our body, like that's where that's where all of our pain is stored, right? So as we shift off different layers, then like different pain points are going to come up to be kind of like nurtured and tended to, like with loving care, because that's what we all need. And then our intuitive abilities start developing, and it's magical, and it's amazing, and it's literally a superpower. And like, our soul chose this human experience, so why not tap into the whole plethora, the whole range of what is here and available to us, and tap into that intuition, man, because like that's what we need. That's what this world and this earth needs, is more people who are attuned to and tapped into their intuitive abilities, because that is what is going to heal the world. Like, and again, that's what we are all about. And so like there are lots of different things that you can do to like heighten your intuition. And as you said before, Catherine, like slowing down is such a freaking big one. Oh my, yes, Emma just wrote, yes, like change is effing hard, but not changing is harder. And the reason it's harder is because it just require it's just it's just more dissociation. It's more, it's like I always think about, you know, and this happens so much in like family systems and family units, and it's like, you know, you walk into your nana's house or whatever, and like you look at the carpet and there's just this big fucking metaphorical pile of like junk that they've all just continually, year after year, just kept sweeping under the carpet. Like, I don't want to look at that, we can't look at that, that's too hard, that's too much. And often it's because like those big ruptures that occur with no repair, and those big like Mack truck moments and those big F-ups have all been because people were so disconnected from and couldn't hear or listen to their intuition and the intuitive messages and pings that were coming through. Yeah, but like so we can slow down, we can like really come back into our bodies is a huge one. Expand our capacity on what we can hold, expand our nervous system capacity, do things like meditations, yoga nidras, tap into the times in our cycles where the veils are thin and we are like more easily able to access messages from the other realms. Like drum journeys, I mean, I know for both of us have just like the messages that we've received. And you know, I used to do drum journeys before my mediumship abilities truly came online, and so it's like it's separate to that, right? It's like the drum journeys heighten your intuition and you're able to receive intuitive messages, and that's completely separate to like having abilities, in my opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think you can definitely strengthen abilities, but I also think a lot of people have abilities they don't realize. I mean, like you as well, you used to pick up on stuff all the time and you would gaslight yourself into why they weren't real. Like, if you had given yourself the opportunity to put your hand on somebody in the same way that you do now, you probably would have, you know, you would have had things come through. Yes. Sasha just said the drum journey we did at the retreat was life-changing. That's right. And you know what? Do you know what? Something that I just really connect with so much is literally just like sitting in the garden, talking to my plants. Like everyone connects to plants differently. And I think it's important to look at the trends that are out. You know, like there's a lot of popularity around cacao and, you know, Palo Santo, all these kinds of sort of more trendy plant allies. And they're great, providing that we use them with intention, but really just connecting with our own plants. And I was saying to you a couple of weeks ago, like to connect with one at a time. You know, like I planted my mugwort and I really connect with that. Now I'm just moving into a couple of other things, really connecting with the plant medicines and the plant allies, and just sitting in my garden and gifting my blood back to the earth. Like even just, and yesterday walking through the forest and connecting to the mushrooms, you know, like really basic stuff, and connecting back to stuff that we would have done as a child that we were shamed for or looked at as kind of, you know, you need to grow out of that, and fairies and all that kind of thing. So this is where when we have our babies, they actually are our greatest teachers to reconnecting with our intuition, because they show us how to do it from a place of play, which is really where it needs to come from, not from the place of, you know, forcing or I want this or any kind of attachment or like any sort of identity. Like this is where labels can be tricky as well. Like you were talking about mediumship stuff. It's so hard because sometimes we put words to things, but also it doesn't always align, you know, like Haley, who's on the call, the way we talks about, you know, her Reiki and thinking that the way she did Reiki is how everyone does Reiki, but then realizing actually it was completely different. And so I think it's just really, this is where coming back to your own body and to your own self and to the ways that you feel and hear things is the most important thing. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is it's not even slowing down. It's like quietening down for a long enough time. And I think that's why when we move through the birth portal, a lot of us get awakenings because we're kind of forced, like we're forced to. When you're in maiden phase, and there's so much else you can be doing, and it is a phase of doing. Whereas when you become mum, like all that superficial stuff, sometimes you just got no time for anything else. So you kind of just have to sit there and quieten your mind. And I find it really difficult. So for me, slowing down and quietening down is tricky. And meditation, I had someone else on my tape the other day who's a fire element. It was like, I try and meditate so much. And I had to say to her, like, some people don't connect with meditation. So for me, it's more like moving, walking, you know, listening to music, dancing, moving my body. Like, they connect me straight in. Like, that's my connection point. And also hyper focusing, I feel like is really a form of channeling. So when I can get my headphones on and I sit down to write something, and I've got like a couple of hours where I can just really like hyper focus, because I'm quite good at that, and I can just do it for a few hours straight. And I come out of that and I'm like, oh, I don't even know what I wrote. Like, I don't even know. It's just like, it's like channeled. So it's like giving yourself the spaciousness to allow and to surrender to whatever is there for you, and to not have any attachment to an outcome or to an identity or to, you know, it's the same with doing a drum generation. If you've got an attachment, I want to see this animal, or I want to hear this, you know, connect with this particular ancestor, that may not be what's true for you. And being able to remove control over it and attachment makes a big difference. Don't you reckon?
Totally. And like you said, like everybody's intuitive messages are going to come through in different ways. So the way that I feel my intuition is going to be different to the way that you feel yours, which is going to be different to the way that the next person feels theirs. So in the quietening down and the slowing down and the deeply connecting within, that's when you start to figure it all out. And like playing with it and experimenting with it. And you know, like I can't journal. You're like you're pretty good at journaling. Like, journaling is something I can't do, but like journaling or like mapping out, if that's the way that your brain works, what your like signs and signals are, and then like asking a question and like truly having fun and playing with it. And I think like that's definitely a really good way to kind of strengthen that muscle, even though it's not a fucking muscle.
Yeah. That's a good language. I think that is a good language. I mean, I do like the idea of looking at it more like a seed. Like, we all have the seed within us, and we can nurture that seed to grow. And you know, sometimes things work and sometimes what they don't. Sometimes, you know, certain things that you're playing with have, you know, create beautiful, abundant growth, and then other things do not. Or some things feel really good and other things don't. And then it's just discerning whether the feeling of it not feeling great is actually important to move through. And I think the most important thing about intuition as well is, like, there's no one size at all. So that's what you would like. There's no saying. There's people that are like, I'll take you on the path to, you know, become a medium or become an intuitive or whatever. Like, there is no way, you know, one way that fits everyone. And there are some things that do work for everyone. They just, how do I explain it? Like, the map is kind of similar, but then you just find your own actual little ways to follow that path. But the other thing is that doing it in a collective or having like-minded people makes all the, and we've talked so much about witch wounds and her story and all of these ways that we feel to connect with our intuition because we don't want to be different. And you talked about before people and the things that they when they're dying, and not living an authentic life. But that most people will choose belonging or authenticity because it's so much safer. You know, we as humans feel so much safer when we are in community, when we are supported by others. Our main desire, apart from like food and shelter and water, is literally to belong and to have a purpose. And if we don't feel like we have a purpose or a belonging, that's when we are lost in the woods. And, you know, primally, that's where our primal instincts come in, and it's like fight or flight. We're not going to survive. We need to find this belonging and purpose. And so most people will choose belonging over authenticity, and therefore they will choose this logical external numbing because that keeps them safe, you know. And so the more of us that speak on it, the more of us that speak authentically, that do follow this perhaps more challenging, different, magical, misfitting life, the more other people will feel safe too as well. And I think that that's really the key. And so when we come together in community and we come together to co-regulate, no, it's safe. It's safe for you to play with this. It's safe for you to just connect in whatever way feels good. And, you know, you might try and connect, you know, cacao if that's what's calling you because it's trendy on Instagram at the time. And they go, actually, that's not my thing. And they might try drum. We've had lots of people that come and they do a drum journey and they're like, I just can't get into it. Cool, that's not your thing. Like maybe come back to it in a few years and see if it works. But there's so many other ways.
Yeah.
And there's different tools for different times as well, you know.
Totally. And one tool might resonate for a portion of your life, and then that came in, served its purpose, and left again.
Yeah.
I just wanted to speak to quickly because this just reminded me, and I just had a little revelation actually. So my middle child is, I guess, what you would call like spirited, and doesn't like to follow the rules or you know, any of that sort of stuff. And so I recently did a parenting course, which was really, really great, and it spoke to these spirited children who really kind of buck the system. And what they said is that there seems to be a lot more of these like energetic beings coming through at this moment in time. And actually for them, on the hierarchy of needs, it's more important for them to have autonomy and choice than it is to belong. So I really feel like, you know, and like bringing that back to intuition, like when you are a fully autonomous sovereign being within yourself, you are super deeply connected to your intuition. And I feel like there are more of these souls who are being born at the moment and who are coming into the world who are here to usher in a new paradigm, which is so much more healthier and connected. And it's funny because, you know, like when I know for myself, like as my connection to my intuition has increased like exponentially, even just in the past decade, with that just like instinctively, logically has come such a deeper level of compassion and connection to others. So I think some people like start with that deep need for connection, and then others kind of start with that deep need for being autonomous and sovereign and deeply connected to themselves and their own instincts and intuition. And then from that comes the compassion. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that's what we're more of, right? That's really, we just need more compassion and kindness and, you know, maturity. That's where that comes from. Yeah.
Yeah, and people like it's just such we just need more people connected to themselves and who can hear and who are like attuned to their intuition. And like you said before, like kids are the master teachers of that, like truly. And so, you know, really like listening and learning from them, I think is going to be a big piece for a lot of us adults who do kind of find ourselves or have found ourselves, you know, disconnected and severed from our intuitive abilities and that like superpower, really. Like it's such a superpower to be able to, you know, like have so much trust and faith in yourself that you can be presented with something and you can like drop in and feel with like such a high degree of certainty that yes, this is a good thing, or no, this is just off. And you don't have to know why.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter why.
That's a key point. Like we don't always have to justify it. And this is what we've grown up with, isn't it? You know, that whole gaslighting thing of, well, you can't just say no. Like we can't just say no. We always have to say why. We always have to over explain. We always have to justify. Actually, it's enough to just say no. The power of the what is that saying? I don't know, the power of no anyway. Like no, it doesn't feel, and the more, and that's where we're strengthening our intuition like a muscle, because it helps us to strengthen our boundaries. When we strengthen our boundaries, we create more space and we create more peace and quiet in order to feel. And I think the other big thing is actually our ability to be open to receive. Because if we don't have, if we've closed off our ability to receive, which a lot of people have, particularly women, give and give and give, but really struggle a lot to receive because their giving can be really into their identity and their sense of worth and belonging, don't feel comfortable or able to receive. And therefore it creates this attachment of what can and cannot come through. And that's where we block it.
Yeah.
So creating our ability to receive, well, strengthening our ability to receive also comes from real responsibility, nervous system place. And also it comes from a place of connection with each other, connection with the earth. Because this is the thing, like our intuition doesn't just like come in a bubble. Like it comes from our bodies, our connection with our bodies. It comes from our connection with each other, like healthy connected relationships. And it comes from the earth, because the earth is always mirroring to us the ability to receive, the ability to set boundaries, the ability to not be attached and create chaos. And that birth comes from chaos, and that death is like such an important part of life, and that attachment to everything always continuing creates decay, you know, and things that we don't want. So allowing them to let go and knowing that like letting things go creates it's interesting what you were saying about our kids, because our kids are our biggest mirrors, but it can be so incredibly triggering if our generation or the generations before are so focused on belonging and will choose belonging over authenticity. And then these kids coming through, because I also have a very spicy spirited who has been my greatest teacher, like honestly. And you know, it all came through when I was first born, and him teaching me what it means to follow instinct over anything, you know, follow his intuition, and the way that he can pick up on stuff. And I guess the concern is that if we as the parents are not open to receive that, then we're going to shut that down for them, you know, not for ourselves and for the generation, and shame that. And all the things that we needed when we were kids, like I remember talking to the plants as a kid and just like having to shut all that down. Like my kids remind me to reopen to that. But it is really triggering, and it does bring up a lot. And so that reparenting that happens when we have kids, and all of those activations and triggers and all those feelings in our bodies and all the ways that they feel our emotions for us that we test, that then creates this whole triggering in our us of like, I couldn't feel those feelings, why should you? It's our biggest teacher in terms of being open to receive here for us, and be open to receive the truth.
Totally. And like so much of, and so it's not to like beat ourselves up either. It's just like, because a lot of this happens subconsciously. Like I still, I try and be so conscious, but I still inadvertently on occasion find myself gaslighting my middle child. And I'm like, what? Just because the pattern is so deeply ingrained. So I'm like constantly having to circle back and come around to the center and tune back into my intuition and like, you know, connect in. And like it's a trip. It's a trip.
It really is.
Like what an opportunity, and what a gift, what an opening, and what a presentation is there for us to take and evolve and drop in deeper again with us, and then model that for them.
And we are still human, right? So like acknowledging our humanness, and that we can't always, I mean, there's been many times where I'm like, can't I just get the message, the answer for this? You know, like it doesn't matter how intuitive you are, or, you know, how strengthened, you know, your abilities are. We only get the messages. We can only receive what is really here for our higher power at any moment.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just need to live the human life too.
Yeah,
like
that's it. Sometimes we're not meant to know. Sometimes that piece is meant to remain a mystery, because that's not needed.
Down and have a tantrum and do, you know, the shitty things that we learn from. And we still live in a society that doesn't support this openness and doesn't support this this path, which is why it's so important to have people around you. Why it's so important to have people around you on a similar path, doing the same thing, come in and connect around, you know, one's humanness, and also, oh my God, this thing happened to me and I don't know what to make of it. Because I know when I first like entered more intuitive work, I didn't have people that I could really talk to about it, that knew that, you know, we need that level of community where we feel safe to be able to talk about it, where we feel safe to kind of dive a little bit deeper, where we can play and experiment more with feeling like we're going to pay a big price. So that's why we're so big on creating community for this, and connecting with our human body. So I think that's really the key, is like connecting with our human body and the earth as an opening to feel more and expand our capacity to both receive and hold and feel, just really, really, really feel all of the subtle nuances and slowing down. And it starts with our physical bodies. It starts with connection with ourselves and permission with ourselves, and doing that in community and in connection with the earth. That's kind of how it all begins. And then we get shown the ways, really.
Yeah, totally. There was just a question.
Yeah.
Examples of gaslighting your children. So just a quick example. My middle had a moment the other night, in the middle of the night. And I still sleep with one of our kids, but the other two I don't. And he was sleeping with his oldest, and with our oldest, and he came in, and actually my middle and my youngest, like they're going through a I'm scared of monsters phase. And I have to be really careful, because sometimes I find myself and I'm like, well, you know, monsters aren't real, and that's just silly, and you know, you've just like, you'll be fine, and come on, and like, let's just get on with it. Whereas are monsters not real? I mean, I've encountered some pretty gnarly entity style beings and attachments in sessions that I've run, and you know, like, to just shut them down, like, and this only happens on rare occasion. Like normally we'll talk through it, and I'll be like, what did it sound like and what did it look like, and you know that you're always in control and you can beam the light out from your solar plexus, and we go through all of those kinds of things. But I do find myself running the script through my head that and out of my mouth that my parents ran to me. Like, I don't do it to quite the same extent of, like I used to get, like, don't be silly, that's stupid, that sort of thing isn't real. And so then you start thinking, oh, well, cool, I'm silly. I've got this silly, crazy, stupid imagination, and these intuitive messages that I'm receiving that I don't feel safe right now because I'm vibing a fucking monster are just me being silly. And so then the first piece of the disconnection happens, right? Whereas instead, just kind of consciously acknowledging that must have felt really scary. How does that feel in your body? We ask that question a lot, like, oh, how does that feel in your body? Where did you feel that? And how did it feel being scared? And, did you feel that, like, sometimes we do prompts or sometimes we just let them kind of go because actually they're so in tune.
Yeah.
And,
sometimes they don't need anything, right? They're just like, I just needed to tell someone.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes all we need. Sometimes I just need to call you and be like, this happened.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you just need to be heard.
No, we don't need anything else. And also, like I said, we're still human and we still live in a society that doesn't support us, and sometimes we're fucking exhausted.
I just wanted to go to sleep, man.
Which is also so valid. Like, we also need to, like, be careful not to fully take it the other way, where it's like everything is made to be some really, really, big thing, because for them as well, it's okay for it to just be like a normal thing that we can just love and be okay,
and because then you can hedge on, like, falling into getting attention for being a victim, like, poor me, life's so hard, this is so hard, like, for lack of a better word, everything becoming a bit too precious, because then we lose out on a lot, like the whole plethora of the experience, and that includes the uncomfortable, hard to feel stuff as well as the really good stuff. So we can just, like, neutrally acknowledge things and that just be all it is, and that be okay.
And that be totally okay, because sometimes, and we're seeing this a lot more, where, like, it's really trendy to be, like, deep in the trenches, swampy shadow work, when actually, like, that's great, but that can't be it. We have to play and have fun in order to integrate. And dark, ill-intending things really feed off fear and feed off, like, too much of that. And I don't want to say, like, too much, but constant victimization becomes a form of disassociation as well. Like, it becomes fully as unhelpful. So sometimes you just got to get into your human body and just, like, move it and shake it and have a good time with it and play with it. And that's also equally as intuitively developing and seeing that muscle and nurturing the seed as if you were meditating too.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like society prioritizes perceived safety, and the gray area of intuition can be viewed as not that. Hence the programming that a lot of us have to ignore or disconnect or associate from it. Yes, practice helps. Leaning into the intuitive pings will give us so much information. That's right. And this perceived safety, I mean, that comes into every aspect of this society, right? Like, hospitals no longer make choices based on actual evidence at all. They make decisions purely on insurance and perceived, like, physical safety. And sometimes physical safety, within our intuition, and Haley knows this well, and we've both experienced this, like, sometimes we maybe don't feel like we're physically, but actually we fully are. And it's about, like, trusting. It's strength strengthening the trust muscle. That's really what it is. It's like strengthening the trust muscle in order to be open to receive whatever is here for us, and knowing the nuances of feelings within our bodies so we can discern what choices we want to make, and making informed choices based on our own intuition and not just people's ideas of perceived.
Yeah.
And it takes, it's a lifelong, it's a many lifetimes, right?
It's a lifetimes long practice, 100%. And it's like, again, like Catherine and I like bring everything back to the wheel, because it's all of it, right? It's all of it. And I loved what you just said about, you know, like perceived physical safety versus an intuitive ping, that actually the perceived physical safety isn't real. In that situation where there is perceived physical safety, you're actually extremely fucking unsafe, and your intuition is telling you that. So being able to tap into that and being able to like really anchor into like, this is my body, this is my soul, this is my experience, and I fully trust myself because I've leaned in enough, and I've played with enough, and I've practiced enough to know what I know. And like you said, it's like it's developing the trust and coming back to the trust, and it's truth. It's like just anchoring into what is true for you. And so one of the very first steps, we've got to wrap up in a second, but this has just come in, like one of the very first steps is just actually getting real with yourself, and what in my life is not true.
Yeah.
Because if you can't at the very baseline level get in truth with what is happening in your life, and that might be like, I'm living in a town that's fucked and I hate it, and I just actually haven't had the ability to go there. You're not going to be in tune with your intuition. If you're in a toxic relationship, you're not going to be in tune with your intuition. You can't be, because to remain there, you have to remain disconnected. And if you remain disconnected, you're not going to be connected to your intuition, right?
And that people want to have these better relationships, like loving, you know, like partnership relationships. They want to have better relationship with their friends. They want to have better relationships with their kids, but they don't start with the relationship with themselves. And you can't expect people to be truthful and honest with you. You're not honest and truthful to yourself. And the other thing about what you were saying before about like safety is, when you are fully in alignment with what is true for you, you're also taking responsibility. And that's the other thing, because safety is such a buzzword, but it's such a gray area, because safety is so different for every single person. And we can't create, so we've talked about this lots of times, we can't create safe spaces for other people. And it's kind of this ethical dilemma where, you know, there's so many nuances with it when it comes to safety. But what we do have, our truth, if we're really connected, is personal responsibility. And if we are fully in our bodies, you know, owning our decisions and our choices, being fully responsible, that's how we see in truth. But we can't do that if we're externalizing that, if we're that over, if we, you know, and our earth is the mirror of that as well. The way that the earth is, you know, being pillaged and dying, you know, taking full responsibility. The earth can take responsibility for itself also if we stop it and stop kind of taking all the things away. The same comes within ourselves. It's really, really important that when we are fully in our bodies, we're able to take responsibility. We're open to receive what is there for us and make a decision based on the options from a really solid and grounded place. And that's really all we can do. And sometimes we might regret our decisions, sometimes, but if we're really aligned with responsibility, then we own those choices regardless. And then it doesn't matter what perceived safety looks like. It's our choice regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what we're here for, and that's what we're committed to, and that's what we love, and that's what we talk about, and all of this stuff is better done in community. And so that's why we created the Returning Community, which is an online membership that we have just launched. We've got over 30 amazing women in there so far, and it's really a place to come back to and connect with your intuition and strengthen that muscle, and do it in community, which is what we're designed for. So we cover so much in that program. So there's like a whole library of resources, of guidebooks, of teaching transmissions and videos, of meditations and drum journeys. We will be having one live call a month, and our first call is this Sunday night. So if you're not already in, I know a lot of people that have been on the call are already in there. We're so excited to dive deep. But if you're not already committed, there's still time. We may close the doors. We're still
in a couple of weeks, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because we want to be able to connect with the women that are in there and have our live calls. They're like a circle. They're like an online circle once a month where we can connect, and we're going to do teaching transmissions like this. And there's also the Facebook group where people can come in and connect and share stories and share recipes and talk about their experiences with various tools. So we have lots of options for tools, and we explain them, and you can just play with them. And it's really about connecting back with your body, with your menstrual cycle, and all of the ways that will help you open and expand to your intuition, to be able to be more open to receive. And then the ways that you play with it, then you can come in and talk and share. And it really does ripple out, not only in the ways that you connect in your life and, you know, the health of your body, your physical body, but also your parenting, your relationships, your money, your business. Like, this is the foundational stuff that I teach when I teach business. Because all of my mentoring and all of my space holder circle medicine work is all based on work. Because if you are not really grounded in your body and open to receive and connect, you know, finding ways to constantly connect with your intuition, and, you know, self-nourishment and self-preservation and self-care is not a priority, all of that is going to ripple out to your business and to money. You know, so people come to me and they're like, you know, I want to earn more money in my business. Well, this is where we start. I want to connect more with my partner. I want to find love, or, you know, this is the foundation. I want to connect more in my parenting. This is the foundation. My health is not good. My menstrual cycle is not good. My fertility is, you know, having issues. This is always the foundation. So we've reached it, and we're having these awesome live calls once a month, which just creates that community. And we're going to have a because not everyone is here in SA, but there's quite a few people who are, so we're also going to have an in-person like get together at the end of the year as well, just to create more community so that we can feel more connected and feel safer to be able to share on this wild magic journey that this life is. Yeah,
That's it.
I think we're going to get cut off in a second anyway. So if anyone does want to join Returning, there is still a little bit of time for this moment, and you'll be able to join our live circle on Sunday night on Zoom. Just in time, we've got the full moon happening, the astrological date for Saturday. So we're going to have this beautiful connected circle Sunday night. The links are in our bio. You can send us a DM as well. Yeah. Or any questions if you have any. We're going to wrap up. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day and manages to slide through the rest of Mercury retrograde and this eclipse season.
Poof, it's been a bloody little doozy.
It really has. Hopefully we'll be back again in a fortnight for another live. If anyone has any like specific topics that you want us to cover, totally hit me up in my DMs. And I've got Sacred Business coming up. So if business is of interest, it's very energetic aligned business coming up at the end of May as well. This stuff is still the foundation. So check out Returning. All right. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.